Hi there, I'm Richard Lewis reporting for cadred.org, and kicking off our interview coverage from here at DreamHack Summer is a familiar face. We've interviewed him a couple of times, but he is a local lad, so who better to start us off? It is, of course, SortOf. So, how's it all going? I'll talk a little bit about your games today, although they were pretty meaningless. You won them all convincingly, and you had a pretty good win over Targa, I suppose, but pretty easy for you so far today.
Yeah, it's been the first day, so it's basically like all the first round groups getting like out of the way, and tomorrow's going to be like the hard-working, tough day.
Yeah. I mean, you said that you weren't too sure because you hadn't been following the European scene, and we'll talk a lot more as to why. But were you surprised at Targa being kind of a bit of a pushover?
I'm not sure. Like CVC right now is a bit of a mess with new changes. Yeah. Like everyone is trying out new stuff and experimenting and so on. So basically what it came down to was like I had slightly better control and made a few less mistakes, which has let me to win.
Okay. Right, so the reason you've obviously been not following the Europeans, of course, is that you've been based out in Korea for a while, and that's what I really want to talk about a lot, because I think it's one of those things it doesn't get talked about. You know, you've got guys like Kaldor and guys like that do talk about it, but going to Korea is such a big deal for a European player, for any non-Korean player. So when I last interviewed you, you said you absolutely felt you had to be in Korea to improve. So do you feel that you've achieved that so far?
Yeah, I definitely think so. The first time I went to Korea last year, like right after I came back, I got a pretty decent result at the NESL season finals. And I came back from Korea and went to DreamHack Stockholm and got a decent result there. So I think the practice in Korea really shows through. But I also feel like it's hard for me to go back to Europe after being in Korea, and it's just not it's like kind of a different game almost, you know. Well,
so tell us about where you were based and how it came to be that you were out there.
Yeah, I went out there as in a partnership between Western Wolves and New Star Hoseo, and I stayed in their gaming house and played with them in the GSTL.
And whereabouts specifically were you kind of based?
Their house is in like a college in Seoul, so they're basically like the gaming house is in the college, and they're sponsored by the college. So it's kind of like you go to the school in the morning, you know,
right?
And then you go into the classroom and it's just like a bunch of computers, and they're practicing with the guys.
Does anyone supervise or anything like that?
Yeah, they have the coach who's there all the time, and they have a secondary coach as well that's around as well.
What were the lessons or the practice time? What was it structured like? I mean, did people, if you played a game and you lost, did someone pull you to one side and say, "This is why you lost. This is what you need to change"? Was the feedback immediate?
No, it wasn't so much about feedback. It was more about preparing. Like, for example, if they knew like the starting map for the next GSTL game is this map, and they will be sending out this race, that everyone would get together and practice this map. Make sure that everyone is prepared for the first game, and they will pick out whoever was doing best in practice versus that race and on that map to start for the next game.
And what about interaction? Because one of the things, I mean, I've talked to Johan Nanua, for example, about his time in Korea, and he said it was kind of lonely in a way because they don't talk to the foreigners so much. It's very hard to make a connection, make a friendship. Did you find that?
I'm not sure. Like the guys in New Star Hoseo was all really friendly and like really welcoming. So that helped a lot, but of course there's like the language barrier. You can't really sit around on a small talk and just like be social. You basically just like tell them what you need to tell them, you know. So that's kind of like after a while you can get a little bit, I wouldn't say lonely really, but you miss to have someone to talk to. And but at New Star Hoseo I got by fine because they were very nice to me and took very well care of me. So.
Did it affect you at all that not having that person to talk to? Because I've been away from home for a long period of time. You miss family, friends. In organisations, you miss your fellow players that maybe you get to hang out with. Was that a factor for you? Were you kind of struggling to adapt a little bit?
Yeah, I missed a lot of my friends and so on, and my family, but it's something I could live with. It wasn't something that really like brought me down or anything, but I'm not sure. Maybe I didn't really stay there for too long. It was only like 7 week ish. So maybe if I would have stayed longer, it would have gotten more of a problem. But the time I stayed, it wasn't getting like I could feel that I missed the interaction and so on. But it never got in the way of like what I wanted to achieve.
What do you feel you took from your time out in Korea? Like, what areas do you feel you improved in, and you know, what has it kind of given you long term moving forward as a player?
Well, I guess like the biggest thing it's given me is motivation and demotivation at the same time.
Explain.
Yeah, it's like when I'm in Korea and practicing, I've never like been more motivated and have more fun playing the game, and I could play like 12 hours a day without an issue.
Yeah.
But when I get back to Europe, it's not just the same, and I feel like I lose a little bit of motivation when I'm in Europe. So when I'm in Europe, I'm not working as hard. When I'm in Korea, I'm really pushing myself to like try as hard as I can.
Do you have any plans to go back? Because obviously I know your time was cut short, and we'll talk about that next. But given how much it motivates you while you're out there, I mean, have you made plans to go back?
Well, I definitely want to go back, but right now I'm not sure how it's gonna work out. Yeah, I definitely want to go back because I feel like I need to be there in order to compete with the best.
I suppose it's an interesting question before we just go on to why it was cut short. I mean, do you now feel that you're, with what you've gained with the Korean experience, you are now ready to compete with the best, to kind of step it up and be amongst the best foreigners?
Yeah, I think so. Like my level raised a lot during the 7 weeks there, and I'm not quite there yet. But I think if I can go back, and I want to spend as much time as possible just practicing there, and I think eventually I will get to the level that I'm like someone who is a contender to the championship in tournaments.
So let's talk about why it was cut short. I won't put words in your mouth. I'll let you explain it. But obviously it was to do with WCS. So talk us about why you had to leave Korea early.
Yeah, okay, so the original plan was for me to stay during the entire GSTL season and play in the Code A qualifiers and so on. Maybe even OSL qualifiers and so on. But and then WCS got announced, like, I think it was got announced like on the 4th of April or something. And the WCS season started like the 10th or something in Europe. So it was kind of like, boom, I gotta be back to Europe within a week, you know. Yeah. So I just kind of had to like pack up and leave and go back to Europe because there was very few details out. It was very like, you didn't really know anything for sure. So I just knew like it's better to be back in Europe for sure, because I wanted to stay in Korea for as long as possible, but I wasn't ready to commit the whole year. No. So. Yeah, that's what happened pretty much.
What are your thoughts on WCS as a whole? I've said publicly quite a few times, I've been very disappointed, I think, with how it's kind of panned out. And as you rightly say, it's felt a little bit disorganised, you know, like dates weren't kind of set in stone and people were a little bit confused. So as a player and somebody that, you know, has probably been looking forward to something like WCS from the moment you started playing StarCraft 2, how have you felt now that we've kind of got the first part of it out the way?
Well, I feel like WCS is something that we need in the West, but right now it's not what it needs to be. Like the reason, in my opinion, why the Koreans are so much better than everyone else is because they've had this infrastructure with the Pro League, the GSL, the OSL, the MSL for so long. So they've had something to like base practice houses around and get full-time teams with full-time coaches and so on. So I think that's something we need in the West in order to catch up. But so the big flaw in the WCS system is that they're allowing Koreans to play like online. I wouldn't mind Koreans playing if they were living in that region. Yeah. But I think there needs to be like a region restriction in that way.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that will get changed. I mean, I can see the argument both ways, but clearly what you're saying is it's not fair on non-Koreans almost. Is that your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I guess. But the main thing, like, I don't mind a Korean like MVP winning WCS Europe. I don't mind it because he's like the best player in the tournament. He should win. But I think that we need some time to catch up because the Koreans, they've had this infrastructure for so long and been able to practice and get to the level like where if someone gets good enough in Korea to get on a pro team, then they can play full time, and they don't have to go to tournaments in order to make a living. And like it's a lot harder for us in the West to make a living than it is for someone in Korea. Although you might say that we make a better living than them. Yeah. But I think we need something to catch up.
Are there any foreigners in your opinion that are ready to really challenge the Koreans, because obviously we saw with WCS, I mean, it was, you know, there was Koreans and TLO. So I mean, is there anyone in your mind that, you know, going ahead is going to be able to really sort of you know, fly the flag for Europe or North America?
I feel it's got to be someone that's right now, like, since Europe doesn't have this or North America doesn't have this infrastructure to build talent, it has to be someone that's willing to spend a lot of time in Korea. And right now I think the only person that's willing to spend that amount of time in Korea is Naniwa. So if it's going to be someone, it's going to be him.
So just to sort of move on to the downslope of the interview, let's talk a bit more about DreamHack and how you think it's going to go, who you're looking forward to kind of maybe playing against, or, you know, that kind of thing. So first of all, are we going to see a European winner at this event, or is it going to be one of the Koreans who are here?
I think it would depend a lot on the bracket. Like, if some of the really good Koreans face each other earlier and knock each other out, we could see at least the European finalists, like we saw at DreamHack Stockholm. But considering like Start Hill Life and all the other like really high-level Koreans that's here, it's gonna be tough. But it's definitely like not impossible.
And what about your own kind of performance? I mean, you've had a very easy first day. We've already established that. Have you set yourself any targets? Because, you know, as you said, you've come back from Korea. You're hungry. You want to prove that you have improved. So, what targets have you set yourself?
Right now, I don't feel I'm as good as I was when I got back from Korea, like right before DreamHack Stockholm. Because I've been spending like 2 months in Europe now, and I feel like my level has gone down a little bit. But if I get through all the group stages and get into the playoffs, then I'm gonna be satisfied. But of course, I want to go as long as possible. But my main goal is just to like focus on one game at a time and see how far I get.
Okay. Well, I don't usually do this in StarCraft 2 interviews, but I'm going to do it for all the ones at DreamHack, and I'm going to let you shout out and thank your sponsors and that kind of thing, because I always forget to do it. But so if there's anyone you'd like to mention, you are free to do so.
Okay. Thank you to my team Western Wolves, of course, and our sponsors, Mad Cats, Sapphire, AMD, and Triton.
That's great. Well, I wish you all the best for the tournament. Thanks very much for taking the time to talk to us. It's always a pleasure to catch up with you. To all the people out there at cadred.org, do stay tuned to the website. We're going to have more interviews like this one in this lovely, wonderful, relaxed setting here at Jönköping DreamHack Summer.